build. And so I'm going to show you really quickly, AJ, what the idea is, and anyone else just tuning in. So the idea is as a developer, the only thing you deal with is configurations, basically project configurations, right? And this could be in any language. Like let's lean on that Pulumi concept of infrastructure as code in any language. And let's lean on that Dagger concept of like, you know, CI/CD as code, right? Let's lean on these methodologies that we know work really well, right? And let's empower the developers to describe their projects from the build of the actual piece of software all the way to the supply chain end of deploying it in the cloud or wherever your end is, right? So as a developer, you have project configurations with using configuration SDKs, right? Those interact with the builder. Now the builder should be highly extensible. So in the future, if we want to do things like PKI or other types of like advanced, you know, building options, we could. But the idea is that the builder now works with a store. But this store isn't like Nix where it's just like local file system. Maybe it's local and remote. Like maybe you can do both. What if you could have a file? What if you could configure your software to be built in two places at once, right? Build one locally and then build one remotely so that you could like pre-warm your cache in CI, right? Or stuff like that. Or I don't know, put it in another location so that you're developing on another computer and then you've automatically got that. You know what I mean? But the store, though it's local and remote, it also has extensible backends. So maybe you want to build something and then you don't want to just build it as a binary in a file system, but you also want to build it in an OCI container, right? Or maybe in a unikernel, right? So the store has this extensible backends of whatever, you know, your end result is that you want it to be in, right? So this solves the software chain, right? Building the software. But now we say, well, we've got this OCI artifact, right? We've got this file system. We've got this unikernel. What if we then make it so that you can describe your devms in this project configuration, right? Where the devms can run on containers, they can run on shells, they can run on virtual machines, right? And then they dog food from the storage backends. Right, so if I build an OCI, well, guess what, baby? You know what I'm going to be running that bad boy in? I'm going to be running that bad boy in a container, right? Out of the box, everything I need right there, right? Or file system, same thing. And this is exactly how Nix works, where it's like file system, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to build shells, and then everything in the file system will be linked to somehow dynamically in those shells. Or maybe we say, well, you know what? I want to do unikernels. I want to build VMs. So then we say, okay, our software gets built into an OCI. Maybe it does all three. Maybe it builds into an OCI image. Maybe it builds into a file system. Maybe it builds into a unikernel. And then it's remote so that all of this is now accessible remotely and can be shared throughout your entire fucking company. I swear to God, if any of you steal my idea, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to kick you in the larynx. Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But no, like this is, you know, the next step that was really interesting to me was like, how can we make this extensible as possible where if I want to use all of these things, right, I could, right? And so this is where we get devms and how we could produce devms. And again, going back to like PKI and stuff, AJ, I think you especially would appreciate this. What if you could sign your configurations, right? So that when they're passed to the builder validates your configurations as official company configurations, builds those artifacts in the store, which are also signed, right? Which is another part of the supply chain problem. And then not only that, then builds you your devms, which are signed, which can then be shared throughout your company so that if, you know, Bob and Sue want to have their own environments, right? You could have containers that are signed. You could have virtual machines that are signed, and then realistically, it would just be a shell, but you'd still have everything that's signed in the file system, right? So yeah, like this is where I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like now we're talking about an entirely secure supply chain that also has extensibility and reproducibility, and on top of that, shareability, where if I have a devm that's running in a container, maybe I can push this up to a store of some sort, right, as well. And then now you don't even have to, again, going back to the whole like Nix run thing, you don't even have to build my environment, you could just pull it down like an image or pull it down like a VM, right? Or again, shells would be a little bit challenging, but you get my idea.